Good. We are now recording. Should be recording to the computer. Miracles of big miracles here. Let's try it. There it goes. Oh. Okay. So we're now recording the last of this classes in Likuti Torah. And what are we talking about? That it says that in the future, God will raise, no. 1 minute. When it says that when the Mount Sinai, in order for the Jews to get from Egypt to Mount Sinai, first of all, they had to cross over the Red Sea, the Yam Suf, Sea of Reeds. This is a big miracle. And it says in Psalms, 114, that the sea saw and it ran away. Right, the Red Sea. When the water, the revelation of God, so it ran away. And the mountains danced like rams. So we read in the Bible that the sea did split. So that's, sort of a poetic way of saying that the sea saw and it ran away. See, and this vision of God, and it ran away. Okay, but what does it mean the mountains danced? What type of mountains were dancing? And the sea actually, it split. That's what it means, it ran away, so we'll see. So the Rebbe said this refers to two different types of service of God. And as we talked about before, that the idea of serving God is inherent in the creation. God created the world, and he created it with all these amazing interrelationships that are in the world. And for instance, there is the life and there's death. There is the body, there's the soul. And we see that in the whole world, there's day, there's night. There's breathing in, breathing out, the heart beats. Everything in life is dynamic, moving. And part of this dynamic aspect is moving away and coming closer. You can call that love and fear, right? A person is alive, he loves life, he's afraid to die. A person is he's afraid to be inactive, wants action. Because whatever it is, if a person has desire for something, usually he's afraid to lose it. He's afraid to be removed from the source of it. The same thing as we see, like here he gives the example that the people, if the people they have a king that they love. Nowadays it's hard to understand what that means, but it used to be people would have a king, and the king represented their country and represented their identity, and he was their leader, and everybody loved the king when he was far away. But if the king comes too close, then everybody just bows down to the king. They just fall down in trepidation. Here's a human being that has this power. Nowadays they have that with, rock and roll stars and things like that. They come, they're revealed, and everybody is just swooning. Here he is in the same room as this, this great movie star, whatever it is. When it comes too close, all of a sudden the reality of the situation, the reality is just bigger than my reality that I live in. This person stands up on a stage, there's 1 million people watching him. Nobody cares about him. I'm just one of those people. Wow, he's now in my house. It's awesome. That's just a simple example, but this principle of love and fear, of going toward and coming back, day and night, etc., that's inherent in the creation. And so when God reveals himself, like it was, and when they took the Jews out of Egypt, and when he split the sea, and later on in Mount Sinai, and even in the Holy Temple. So there were these two aspects of love and fear. The desire to come closer, that's love, and fear is the awe, the inability to come close. That's what happened in Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai, I'm sorry, at the splitting of the sea. At the splitting of the sea, there was this amazing revelation of God. And therefore, the sea saw it. It was just too much for the sea, the river. It could the Yam Suf. It couldn't take it, and so it ran away. And the mountains, they danced. What type of mountains? What are they talking about? Oh, so we haven't talked about the mountains yet, but we did talk about the sea. And when we're talking about the sea, is in the sea has everything in this physical world has a spiritual source to it. Everything in the physical world has a spiritual source to it. And this physical source is what enlivens and to a certain degree even creates everything there is in the world. So, but on the other hand, don't think that the spiritual is more important than the physical, right? It's in a way, it's much more real in a way, because this physical world is a big 99.999% lie. What's it a lie? It's a lie because how we accept it, how we take it, how we react to it, the world. But the fact is, this world is tremendously, tremendously important to God. And that's why he gave the Torah here in this world. That's why the Jews were in Egypt in this world. That's why the Jews went out of Egypt and the sea split and God gave the Torah all in this world. The Holy Temple was built in this world. The raising of the Moshiach will be in this world. The raising of the dead will be in this world. Even though there certainly are spiritual worlds, but in some ways, these spiritual worlds can be a concealment. So that's the idea of the splitting of the sea. The splitting of the sea is that all the spiritual worlds split. And when this happens, then there can be an awareness of how important this physical world is. And that's the idea of the birth of the souls. It says, the Jewish people, they arose up in God's thought. Yeah. The Jewish people, they rose up in God's thought. And then the Rebbe gave a big explanation of what it means to be thought, and that it's like when a letter, when you speak it, it comes out, but when the letter is still in your thought, so it's not revealed, especially when it's in the essence of the thought. So that's sort of like things that are in the sea, right? You ever see these National Geographic the presentations about creatures of the sea. And you look at these like mammoth squids and octopuses and weird animals and stingrays and all these dangerous sharks and whales and weird bizarre things way down there that are like 99% teeth, just a couple of eyes just to get you, and they're there in the middle of this, and you can't see them at all if you're you're in the sea. There's nothing visible. Everything in the and it could be that there's more creatures in the sea than there are on dry land. More sharks. I mean, I'm certain that there are more sharks and things like that, more protozoas in there, and you can't see anything. All you can see is just the sea. Just once in a while, like a whale jumps out or something. Oh, look at that whale! And there could be millions of whales. Who knows how many whales there are? So what's in the sea is concealed. That's something like, and like we said before, that's the word for heaven in Hebrew is shamayim. Mayim means water. So the heavens, they conceal. What do they conceal? They conceal the Creator. They conceal the Creator. And they also conceal how the Creator feels that this world is the most important. It's concealed. So the Jewish souls, in order for these Jewish souls to be born, it says that the Jewish souls are born on the 7th day of Passover. To be honest with you, I don't really know what this means, that they're born on the 7th day, because it says that there's very rarely are there new souls. So maybe it could be that the souls are renewed or something. I have to look into it, and I'm in Mirona now, and I have nowhere to look. But nevertheless, it says that the birth of the Jewish souls is in the seventh day of Passover. The conception of these souls is the last day of the holiday of Sukkot. So it takes 7 months later, and on Passover, it gets revealed. Okay. In any case, it comes out from the concealment into the revelation. In order for this to happen, there has to be a big revelation above the heavens, above this source, above the sea. All this concealment, in order for it to be revealed, there has to be a power to give birth. That's why the Rebbe made a very big thing about the birthday. You know, the child is all developed in the mother's womb, and it's already there. What's the big deal? The doctors can induce birth. It can be born a day earlier, 2 days earlier, 2 days later, right? So it says no. The Rebbe says no. The fact is that the growth of the child is, of course, in the mother's womb is an amazing miracle, but it's hidden. In order for it to come, the power for it to become revealed from its concealment, from the child to actually come out, this power of birth, this comes out from a higher source. Okay, so he says here, let's get to that. Kacha Neshama, also the souls which are considered to be in the world of Atzilut. That the world of Atzilut, that's like God's thought. This is the level of ayin. In order that they should come out and be born, physical souls and physical bodies, they have to be in the what's called the stomach, the womb of Nukva, of this aspect of Malchut of Atzilut. They wait there for 7 months. They eat and they drink what their mother eats. In other words, they're provided all these spiritual powers, the soul that's drawn down all these upper lights. But on the 7th day of Pesach, that's the birth. And this means like this. What does it mean, the 7th day of Passover, when the sea split? So the answer, it really means spiritually, because remember this whole idea of the sea splitting, this was for the Jews. This was only for the Jews. The Egyptians that ran after them, they were destroyed. The Egyptians that remained back, they weren't destroyed. But those that pursued them, they'll be destroyed. And we're going to see after we'll learn in the Sikha that that's two aspects of the future redemption. It says that those people that insist on hating the Jews, no matter what, right? It says those people will be destroyed. But all the rest of the world will be fixed up. All the rest of the world will just come to realize there's a creator, and they'll worship the creator. That's the God of the Jews. The God of the Jews is the God, the only God, one God that's creating them. It says, but meanwhile, the sea split for the Jews. This is really the birth of the Jewish people. The whole process of going out of Egypt was really the birth of the Jewish nation. The inyan ki in order is later, in order that there should be the giving of birth and opening up the womb, that the soul can come out from concealment to revealed, there has to be a revelation from Ha'ora B'midas Malchus. There has to be a revelation in this womb, in this lowest aspect of Atzilut, which is called Malchut, the lowest aspect of God's thought, where the souls are they are waiting to be born. That's where they're being pregnant, and they're like a fetus. There has to be a revelation, milamayla mishtalshus. There has to be some sort of revelation from above the whole chain of creation. And that's what it says, Vayelech Hashem Esayom Baruach Kadim. That's what it says, that before the splitting of the sea, it says there was an eastern wind, Azah. This eastern wind split the sea. And now a person, I'm a scientist who says, oh, see, it wasn't such a big miracle. That night there happened to be a big cyclone or something like that, and it split the sea. Well, that's, yeah, you could say that, certainly could say that. But the fact is that it says that the sea split into 12 different channels, and it split to the right and to the left. So if the wind only came from the east, so it would have just, sort of washed the sea away. I don't know. Anyway. But people can think whatever they want to think. The fact of the matter is the narrative of the Torah that the Jewish people have been believing for the last 3,300 years and giving their lives for it is that there was an eastern wind, and that caused the water to be divided into 12 different channels, one for each tribe. Because according to the normal order of creation, even spiritual creation, from the seichel to the midos, from intellect to emotion, right? We say that we're created in God's image, right? So God has what's called God's intellect and God's emotions, ad machshav, until it comes down to what's called thought, speech, and action. That's this aspect of malchut. It's impossible. You can't bring from the ayin, the nothingness, into be yesh, but only by means of a gilei ha'aras sovev, only by means of a revelation of this aspect of sovev kol. And this sovev kol, which is above the whole order of creation. Here we have a very amazing thing. Human beings, they can speak intelligently, right? They can say ideas. This ability to speak, we just sort of take it for granted because there's how many people in the world? 8 billion people, and they all speak. But the fact is it's a tremendous miracle that a person is able to bring ideas out from his mind and to say them and to speak in a way that another person understands. It's an amazing miracle. And this amazing miracle, this comes from what's called above normal. This is what makes a human being, differentiates between a human being and an animal. Animals can make certain sounds, or they can copy certain sounds, right? But they actually stay and they say ideas, change people's minds. By speaking, that speech comes out of your mouth in an orderly way. This is an amazing miracle. And this miracle is really the same thing as what happened in Mount Sinai. So to speak, God's speech came out of his thought. The Jewish souls were removed. The Jewish souls which are in God's thought, they came up. But there has to be a revelation from above all this. This is Sovev Kol. This is the aspect of God which is above all of the worlds, above all the creation, that this is higher than Atzilut and Bria and Atziya, Yetzirah and Atziya, that all of them are equal in front of this aspect of Sovev Kol, this, so to speak, the essence of God has to be revealed. And that's what it means, the Ruach Kadim, the eastern wind. That by means of this eastern wind, Kadim, also the word eastern, and the word Kadim means from before, Kodem. This is a revelation of God which is before the whole entire creation, so to speak, the reason of creation, that came down and was revealed, split the sea. That was the reason the sea existed. By means of this, there was the splitting of the sea, because the Yom, this idea of the sea, mechasa, it covers over and hides. And it's not, the sea conceals and hides. The Eino Ella, and it is only bechinas ishtalshelus. This is the whole idea of the creation. The creation conceals God. That's the way God wanted it. When there's a revelation of a light which is above the creation of the world, then the sea transformed to the dry land. And that's what it says in the Zohar on the sentence right before the sea split. It says that the Jewish people they cried out to God, and Moses said, "What's going to be?" And the Zohar said, it interprets what God said to Moshe: "Ma titzak alai, don't cry out to me." It says, "Don't cry out to me. Speak to the Jews and let them move." Ba'atika tel yamilto. It says, don't cry out to me. The whole thing depends on atik. Atik is this inner level of keter. In other words, what is in milta? Tel yamilto depends the thing. Shemisham nimsach hakoach. From there is the power to give birth. So in other words, at the splitting of the sea, there was a revelation totally above any level of creation. Even on the highest spiritual levels, there was a revelation of godliness, which is called Atik, the inner level of God's crown, so to speak. And that's what it means, that Hashem will be a king forever and ever. Hine, the inner level of God's crown. Hine, begilei ha'arazu. When there's this big revelation, then it says the mountains danced. Why did the mountains dance? We can understand why the sea ran away. Such a big revelation that the sea couldn't take it. It was too big, too much. It says also in Mount Sinai, the same thing, that the Jewish people, their souls jumped out of their bodies. Too much. The mountains, they loved it. They danced. What's this mountains? The mountains, this is another aspect of God. We said the sea was called God's malchut, the lowest of the 10 sphirot, the 10 aspects of God, of atzilut of it. It says, but the mountains, that's the emotional aspects of God. Gavaot is chesed, gavur, tiferet of Bria, or netzach hod yetzod of Atzilut. Mountains are Chesed, Gevur, Tiferet of Atzilut. Gavaot are the Chesed, Gevur, Tiferet, the love, fear, the giving, the love, the power, and the splendor of God as it is in Atzilut. The Gvaot, this is lower than a mountain, that's how they are in the world of Bria, the next lower world. Or maybe we can even say that's a lower level, Netzachot Yesod of Atzilut. In any case, they were really happy with this revelation. The upper worlds. Why? The sea, which is the aspect of Malchut, that's split. It couldn't take it. But the upper levels, because Shem Lamaila, because they're higher than this level of Yam, of sea, this is the level of God's Malchut, Tzimtzum, how God contracts himself and hides it. Therefore, they danced like rams. Begiloi Ora Sovev, when this big revelation of light, Shenichlalo, because they were included, Kabitl Ner Lifnei Avuka, they're like a candle is included in a torch, right? If you bring a torch near to a candle, the flame of the candle joins into the torch. Why? Sha'orot tikun amalubashim bekelim nistalkim min akelim v'nichlalim ba'or zeh amakiv k'niskralael. Then they're tremendously happy. It's almost like you have a small force against the enemy. The enemy that outnumbered 10-1, and all of a sudden there comes a bigger force of our friends to join us. Oh, the little force is tremendously happy. The enemy is very afraid. In this case, the upper worlds, the upper aspects of Atzilut, that they're more similar to this essence of godliness. They're longing for the essence of godliness. When it's revealed, they're very happy. They jump in. Hagam Shagam Midei Shabbos, even though that every Shabbat we have these big revelations, but everything Madriga, and Avi Shabbat and the holidays, this is from level to level. Atzira, Asiya, Yetzira, Bria. All the holidays also are big revelations. We don't, not necessarily all the worlds dance. The thing of the splitting of the sea was that the essence of God was revealed at one time. That's Aliyah Gedola. This is a tremendous elevation without any level at all. Haynu ba'ora sovev kanishkaleel. This is the ora sovev, like it was spoken about before. This is like if a person, wins in the lottery, he wins $1,000, is happy. The next day he wins $5,000, is happy. But if all of a sudden one day he wins $1 billion, right? $1 billion and he has son. So there are two types of people that have no idea what it means $1 billion. So those people, they just flip out. They just can't take it. They just, they go crazy because of all the money. It dissolves. They just go with it. How do you say? It's too much for them. And then there's people who are, let's say, big businessmen or whatever. Ooh, they're rejoicing. They're so happy. They get so much money. They already have an idea what they're going to do with it. It's the same thing. The lower levels, they can't take this big revelation. There was a Mount Sinai. So that's like the sea. Everything that's concealed, it's split. But it says the mountains, that those are the higher worlds, higher aspects of Atzilut, as they were very happy with this revelation. It says, like Eileen, that they danced like rams. Why like rams? Say they dance like people. They dance like rams because rams haven't got any understanding. Such a high revelation. This is just what they were waiting for, right? Something that's totally above their understanding, above their but the Sof of the Kaldarga, which is the lowest of all levels, this conceals and hides this revelation. They couldn't take it at all. They couldn't be included in their source like a candle in front of a candle in front of a torch, like the mountains did. Sharihu Malim it conceals. Therefore, they ran away, etc. Al derech mashal adam. This is supposed to be the idea of why we're learning Chassidut. The idea of why we're learning Chassidut is because in the future, Moshiach, what's Moshiach? Moshiach is going to reveal the fact that God is really creating everything, and he's going to reveal it, and everybody's going to start to feel it. But the people who are longing for this revelation, the people that really wanted to feel the truth of creation, why we're really here, those people, it says they'll be rejoicing, happy. Oh, Moshiach is here. Amazing, tremendous revelations of godliness. But those people that their whole life, they're just thinking about going to heaven or something. They don't care about revelations of God in this world or anything like that. They're just, we're thinking about going to heaven is maybe the most selfish thing that there can be, even though it's a better type of a selfishness than wanting, money and other pleasures, physical pleasures, spiritual pleasures. But still, people who are thinking in those terms. So when there's this big revelation of godliness, it says they'll hide in the clefts of the rocks. It'll just be such an amazing revelation. It's totally from a different direction that they thought. With all these other religions in the world, they think that God is somewhere up in heaven or somewhere. They would never dream that God is the essence of God is in this physical world and doing physical things that we're doing. It's so tremendously concealed. But a person who learns Chassidut, these ideas, as he starts to really, think, well, this world is really godliness. Why don't I see it? I really would like to see it, right? When this revelation happens, then, this is what I've been waiting for. There's going to be great joy. And that's essentially why there's the rejoicing in the holidays also by the Jewish people, especially Sukkot, Pesach, the tremendous happiness, because there is, in fact, a little bit more revelation of God in these holidays. There's a lot of light. And then Nifsak Adib, it's like when a person speaks. A person speaking, so he speaks, but when there's too much light, too much awareness, he gets an idea that's just too much for him to take, then he's quiet, he can't speak anymore. But that's why it says that even Moses, he was covered pay, he couldn't speak. But called salutim, that's why when we pray quietly, because we're attaching ourselves to a higher level that's incomprehensible. All of this is in front of Lifnei Adon Chuli Oretz. The whole world was jumping. That was the God transformed a stone, right? So usually a flint stone that brings out fire, it transforms into water, agam mayim, into water. Namely, from severity to kindness, the whole entire world is transformed by means of this revelation. All of this was in Pesach, when God went out, took the Jews out of Egypt. There had to be this amazing revelation from above normal. That's in Passover. But what happened after the Jews got out of Passover? They're out of Egypt in Passover, so they counted 50 days. They counted 49 days. Afterwards, there was what's called Sfirat Omer, counting the Omer. 49 days, and that's from the day after Passover. And this is an arousal from below. Then the Jews could start working on their own. Then they could accept this level. So it says when the sea split, so there was too big of a revelation. They couldn't take it. The Jews couldn't take it. It was awesome. But when they counted the 49 days, then they could get to Passover. Then they could get from Passover to the giving of the Torah, which this is a revelation of God face to face. All the Jewish people on Mount Sinai saw God face to face. That's what it says in Parshat Et Hanan. This is the idea of Matan Torah. Okay, the Rebbe says, I just want to say this quickly because I want to finish this class. Now, it says that in the future, this is all talking about now that God split the Yam Suf into 12, and this is an amazing revelation, and the people couldn't take it, and then they had to count 49 days. They came to Mount Torah, and then they could take it, and it was only temporary. But he said, in the future, and Isaiah says that God is going to split the river into 7 tributaries. We talked about this before. It says the Yam Suf, that was the level of Malchut that was split. And that was split into 12, the Rebbe says, because it refers to this Kabbalistic thing of what's called the 12 Gavuli Alachsan. It's the 12 measures of physicality. Of physicality, something like a box, you have a box, so there's 12 like corners on it, 12 different aspects. It says, but in the future, that's Malchut, that's this lowest aspect of Malchut. But in the future, God is going to split the 7 emotions, and we're going to see, that's the idea of the Yam. Chitzoniyat Malchut. Let's see if I can get to this over here. Kriyat Yam Suf, right? That was the splitting of the sea, which we just finished. But all this is Kriyat Yam Suf, which is the level of Dibur. But in the future, it says that God will lift up his hand and he'll split the sea, split the river. Kriyat Yam Suf had to be in order to get out of Egypt and receive the Torah. It says that that's what it means, that the mountains danced. This refers to when the Jews were at Mount Sinai. Then the Jews had a bigger awareness of God because they counted the Omer. Because the main thing of this, doing the commandments, that by means of this we draw down lights in the world into Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. But in Bria and Yetzirah, Asiya, these are, so to speak, separate worlds. They're the separate worlds from God. In other words, that's the idea of drawing godliness into the world by Matan Torah. The world basically stays the way it is, but we draw godliness into it, but we don't see the godliness that we draw. In the future, it says that God is going to split the whole entire world. And that's going to be the 7 tributaries. That's like the 7 days of creation. It's going to split the whole entire, we're going to see the godliness in every aspect of the creation. And if we had more time, we would do it, but we don't have more time. And I want to go and learn the second, the Torah, the Sikha that we began about who builds the temple. Who builds the temple? Is it built by God? Is it built by man? Is it built by the tzaddikim? So let's have a look.